Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Dive Stories. And this week I'd like to tell you kind of a little bit of a scarier story that goes back about 10 years. So my friend Pierre and Pierre was one of our cameramen for BlueWorld for a long time, a good friend of mine who lives in Montreal. And we were up in the St. Lawrence River, way up in a place called Baie-Comeau. And this is a place where they had for a number of years these weird encounters where Greenland sharks, which are exceptionally rare, they would come over to scuba divers underwater completely out of curiosity. And what they thought was that maybe this is some kind of a pupping ground for them, and they're there and they're bored and they're curious and they would come over to see what the noise was. It's the only place in the world where people would regularly see Greenland sharks. So we decided to go check this out and see if we can make a BlueWorld episode about it. We drove all the way up there, and that particular summer, for whatever reason, the water was really warm in Baie-Comeau, and it's normally in the 30s, even in the summer. That's Fahrenheit, in the 30s. We're talking cold, like 2 degrees Celsius. And when we got there, the water was quite a bit warmer than that. It was in the high 40s, which is still pretty cold by most people's standards. But for Greenland sharks, which are sharks that like the Arctic, that was way too warm for them. So we were doing dives and we were making noise underwater, clicking rocks together, blowing bubbles, doing the things that would normally attract the sharks, and they weren't coming over to us, and we were getting a little bit discouraged. Then we realized, you know what, if we dive down deeper below the thermocline into the really cold water layer that's down below 100 feet, we might be able to get the sharks to come over. So what had happened was Pierre had hurt his ear in one of the dives, and so he couldn't do the deep dive. So I went with another diver who was a friend of the captain of the boat, and she and I were going to go down really deep, below 100 feet, and see if we could find some sharks. And I had told her, like, if we get a shark, don't worry about me. I might stay with the shark, and if you can't stay with the shark, I'll come up in a minute when I'm done. So we went down to about 100 feet. It's really dark, kind of green, and we're looking around, and then all of a sudden, wouldn't you know it, a Greenland shark came over to investigate us. And I thought, I have won the lottery. We got a shark. I mean, I've been here for 4 days. We haven't seen a shark. We finally have one, and I'm so excited. So I put on the lights and I started filming. Now, these sharks are not fast. They swim pretty slowly by shark standards, but that's still pretty fast for us. So I'm swimming along with the shark, and all I can do is just keep that shark in the viewfinder. And I'm trying to swim along beside it. I'm trying to take a little break. I go behind it, try to get on the other side, whatever I can do to get shots of this shark. Well, I'm focusing so much on filming the shark. The shark is going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and I'm going with it. And in the back of my mind, I'm trying not to breathe too much. For those of you who know about scuba, you'll know that the deeper you go, the more air you use with each breath. So, for example, when you're at 33 feet of seawater, you're at 2 atmospheres, whereas at the surface you're at 1 atmosphere. So it takes twice as much air from your scuba tank to fill your lungs at 33 feet of seawater as it does at the surface. At 66 feet, it takes 3 times as much air as it does at the surface for a breath. At 99 feet, it takes 4 times as much. And it keeps going like that. And the deeper you go, the more air you use with each breath. So what that means is that if you're breathing heavily, your tank volume is depleting very quickly, your air. So you always have this thing in the back of your mind when you're diving deep, like don't breathe too fast. So you're trying to conserve your breathing. Try it sometime. Run down the street and get really, winded, but try not to breathe too much. It's really hard. And what happens is CO2 builds up in your blood and you start to get this like feeling like you really got to breathe. The other thing that happens is the deeper you go, the more the nitrogen in your blood makes you a little cuckoo. Jacques Cousteau called it the rapture of the deep. I loved that name, the rapture of the deep. It sounds great. Modern scuba divers call it nitrogen narcosis, but essentially nitrogen at a very high pressure starts to have a narcotic effect. It's almost like being a little bit drunk. So you get a little loopy, and the deeper you go, you also get kind of a tunnel vision. And when you're staring at a camera and you're swimming really hard and you're trying not to breathe too hard and you're getting CO2 build up in your blood and you're getting narcosis and it's giving you tunnel vision, but you don't notice the tunnel vision because you're focusing on the camera, there comes a point when you realize, whoa, dude, I do not feel good. And I just remember thinking, okay, I probably got enough footage of this shark. I should probably chill. And I slowed down and the shark swam away. And I just remember thinking to myself, I had tunnel vision and I had no idea how deep I was. And I thought to myself, this is really a bad situation because I feel like I'm about to pass out. And then you have this thought in your mind, if I pass out at this depth, I'm gonna die. I will drown. Nobody will find me. So I did what most people do in that situation, which is that you hit your inflator on your BC real hard and you start filling your BC as hard as you can to get yourself moving upward without having to exert yourself. So I hit that thing and I started going up. And what happens is you start to accelerate and you start to accelerate and accelerate. And what'll happen is if you don't get it under control, you're gonna come shooting out of the water and you can get bent because you came up way too fast. So fortunately, as I started coming up, my mind cleared and I immediately realized, whoa, I gotta get this under control. So I started venting my BC and venting my dry suit at the same time and trying to hold my camera and vent. And I finally got my ascent under control at about 50 feet. I came to a stop. And then I chilled out and I looked around. It's like, okay, I'm good. I'm at 50 feet. I can do my decompression. I'm not gonna get bent. I have plenty of air. I'm gonna be fine. Whew. I was like, okay. So I came up, I did my deco stop. I didn't actually, believe it or not, I didn't go into deco. I wasn't down long enough, but I definitely was down deep for a long time and I needed to go slowly coming up. So I did a safety stop at 30 feet. I did a safety stop at 20 feet. I did a safety stop at 10 feet. And then I finally popped up. And when I popped up, everybody on the boat was so relieved. They came over and they were like, oh, we didn't know if you were okay. And I was like, what was the problem? Well, the person that I was diving with, when she saw me take off with the shark, she tried to follow for a while and she had all the same things happen to her. And then she panicked and then she hit her BC and then she came flying out of the water like a Polaris missile. And they had her on the boat on oxygen and they thought that I was dead and everybody was freaking out. And of course, I played it really cool. I was like, yeah, oh guys, I was fine. I chased the shark for a while, and then I had to do my deco stop, and I was cool. It was all fine. I'm sorry I worried you guys. Come on, I'm a professional here. And then we got on the boat, and then a little while later, Pierre said to me, he said, "Hey, mon ami, are you okay? What really happened?" And I said, "Dude, I was so scared, man." I completely freaked myself out. I looked at my dive computer later, and I had hit 170 feet on air in 36-degree water, and it was so dark it was like a night dive. And that's not advisable. That's dumb. That's reckless. That is bad diving technique. And I'm not proud of the fact that I did that. And I tell this story because, you can get caught up in the moment filming something and lose sight of reality a little bit and forget that you're doing something stupid for an image. And I've had friends die doing that. I've had friends get horribly bent and end up in a chamber from doing that. And I try to now always remember in the back of my mind that there's no shot that is worth your life. Even if it's the only time you've seen a Greenland shark in your entire life, it does not matter if you kill yourself or get seriously hurt trying to get the shot. That's just dumb. So I try to always remember that in the back of my mind when I'm filming now. No shot is worth getting bent or getting in serious trouble or even getting killed for. It's just not worth it. And on that happy note, that is this week's dive story. Who knows what we'll get next week? But until then, I hope you'll subscribe, hit the button, hit the bell, and stay tuned for more adventures here in the Blue World.
Hey everyone! Thanks for watching our latest episode all the way to the end. Hit that subscribe button now so you won't miss our next episode.